So, you want to retire in the Philippines, do you? What if? What if this? What if that? We're going to talk about some of the what ifs, so stick around. Alright, YouTube friends, welcome back. So I just wanted to talk about some of the what ifs. And I hear a lot of the what ifs from people. What if this? What if that? And some of the what ifs, top of the list, is what if you get sick? Well, you know, as I've said before, Filipinos are some of the finest healthcare workers you're ever going to find anywhere on the planet. So what better place to be? Obviously, if you're out in the middle of the province somewhere away from the city, you're going to be in not good shape if something serious happens to you and you need to be. But if you're near a reasonably good sized city, you know, there's going to be decent care there for you. And you always have the option, if you gotta, go back to the States and have your treatment. I just watching a vlogger today. Had some health issues that he's choosing to fly back to the US to have taken care of. There you have it. I mean, there's examples like that. So you have to be able to plan to make it back to the States in health emergencies. I've heard some expats say that Guam is an option to get health care if it can't be taken care of in the Philippines. And also there's the insurance aspect of it. There's many options for expats. Health insurance for those of us who are married to Filipinos. We have some degree of coverage if we pay into PhilHealth. I know it's not really that great, but it's something. Other insurance that you can layer on top of that also. Self-insure. A lot of the issues that you would have would probably just pay out of your pocket and it would be fine. That's what my wife tends to think, that most of the stuff that we would need done can be, you know, we can pay out of pocket and be done with it. So that's the answer to the what if you get sick. And you can go on and you can continue to throw what ifs at that and what if it to death. It's something that we think about. And those of you who are there now, if you have any thing to add, everybody watching would appreciate any insight that you can provide as someone who's living there already of the healthcare options. And we know there's a lot of it out there. It's a frequently covered topic by expat vloggers. So, you know, there's definitely, we know, it's not the end of the world if you're retired in the Philippines and you get sick. So another one that doesn't really get spoken about too much, but is definitely potentially an issue. What if there's political unrest? Yeah, it's possible. I mean, we've seen it's possible here in the States. I mean, there's U.S. cities not too long ago I wouldn't have gone into. And that's political unrest, what you were seeing on TV. So you're not necessarily safe from political unrest anywhere. So that's my answer to people who say, what if there's political unrest? Again, there's different degrees. I think it was back in 2010. There was some political unrest in Thailand. And apparently, from what I understand, I tried to look online to see if I could find some more information on that. The foreigners were that were living in the country at the time were painted in a bad light, and they were forced to, a lot of people had to leave the country for a spell until things simmered down. So political unrest, definitely a wild card, and definitely something that you need to consider if you intend to retire overseas in any country, and even in the U.S. Let's face it, we live in turbulent times. You know, I don't think you're safe anywhere. What if there's an economic downturn? That's another one that I hear all the time. Again, wherever the heck you are in the world. But yeah, I mean, things get real bad over there. You may have no choice but to pack up and move back to the States. You know, what are you going to do? You know, try to prepare as best you can. You should be prepared anyway. I'm prepared here to a certain degree. My wife made fun of me when she first came here that I had non-perishable emergency food supply on hand. I don't have enough to survive for 20 years, but the food that I do have is good for 20 years. And listen, when COVID first started, we saw that she didn't think it would happen, but the supermarkets were ransacked. We walked in the supermarket, and when it hit the fan here, the COVID-19, the lockdowns, and I never saw a supermarket look like that before. Almost once before we had a Superstorm Sandy. It was a big giant hurricane, made a direct hit here. Luckily we didn't get a lot of rain on that one. It was wind, but it knocked out power to a lot of places that didn't have generators. There was no fuel. Fuel was hard to get for days. I know the hospital we ran on generator power for an extended period of time. And people were starting to get very nasty to one another. And had I not been someone who stocked up on toilet paper, paper products, non-perishable foods, canned goods, I had enough stuff in the freezer and on the shelves to last. And it was the same thing when COVID first hit. So I think you need to think in those terms, even in the Philippines, if you're living there. And these non-perishable foods are very good. I don't know if they're easy to get there in the Philippines, but I'm thinking about starting to pack some of it up and send it in balikbayan boxes ahead of my arrival there, because I think it's good to have, and especially in a country like that, if something really crazy happens and food gets hard to come by, at least you got something a little stored up. But yeah, I mean, who knows? Who knows? And I'm telling the story about what happened here because you don't know what's going to happen in the U.S. You don't know what's going to happen in Canada. You don't know what's going to happen in Europe. You don't know what's going to happen in Australia. You just don't know. We don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. I'm a man of faith. I trust God. I trust God with everything. And, try to be as prepared as I can. But, I'm not going to live my life with these what ifs hanging over my head. But let's move on to the next what if. What if there's a natural disaster? Again, it's, I guess people see the typhoons over there and tsunamis and whatnot and earthquakes and volcanoes. I mean, we don't have any volcanoes here in the New York area, but we do have a little occasional little jolt, a little earthquake. I mean, I usually sleep through them. They're so small here. I've never actually felt an earthquake myself. But they do happen. Again, trust the good Lord and, live one day at a time. What can you do? Are you really safe anywhere from natural disasters? I don't think so. And the big one is war. What if there's a war? Again, what if there's a war? What if there's a war and New York gets nuked? I mean, I'm less than 10 miles away. I mean, definitely, I think we'd be vaporized if New York got a hit with in a nuclear exchange. We've got the China wild card. And there was a fellow vlogger a couple days ago did a great video about his thoughts on China and what's going on, and I agreed with him 100%. It's definitely something that I'm keeping my eye on, what's happening with China over there in that part of the world. But, who knows? Again, I mean, I got some years to go before I get out there. I believe me, I got it in the back of my mind, if things change in a bad way, we may not go. Lord only knows what the future holds. This Paulie Walnuts from The Soprano once said, "Nobody knows what the future holds, my friend." True statement. So those are some of the what ifs that I hear frequently from people in my circle here. When the subject of retiring overseas comes up, and this is not limited to friends, it's all family, colleagues, whatnot. Everybody thinks I'm nuts. Everybody thought I was nuts for flying off to the Philippines to marry my beautiful wife. You know, so, and what are you going to do? You know, I guess everybody feels everybody should follow the same traffic pattern of life here, you know, and if you get outside of that, you must be a nut. Now, call me crazy. You know, I'm happy. I love my wife. It's the best thing that ever happened to me was meeting my wife. So, very happy for that. So, yeah, so that's what we had to talk about today. It was on my mind, and I wanted to share it with you all. So let me hear in the comments what you think. Maybe you got some other what ifs. Maybe you guys have heard some what ifs about retiring in the Philippines or other countries. I'd love to hear them, and I'd love to hear your you know, what you responses were to the what ifs. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? You know, I hear it a lot, so I thought it was a good one. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. Also, please consider sharing the channel with others that you think might enjoy it. We'd appreciate it. We're trying to get to 500. We're less than 100 away now, so we're getting closer. We want to hit that 500 mark so we can make use of that community tab, so we can communicate with you all in between uploads. So we really appreciate it. We're getting there. We're less than 100 away. Thank you guys all for that from the bottom of our hearts. Gonna wrap this one up, and as we always like to say, stay well, stay safe, stay blessed. We'll see you real soon with another video. Thank you very much for watching.